Welcome back, and we continue to give you all the details around the conference that's got all South Africans glued to their screen. And the ANC's all-important National Elective Conference, that starts today. And it's not a moment too soon in addressing the growing disillusionment among South Africans and investors in the party. Now, the next leader of the ANC has a daunting task ahead in steering the country out of a widening economic crisis. Let's speak to political analyst about this further. Ebrahim Harvey joining me in studio. Thank you very much for your patience. You saw lots of delays with this beginning of this particular conference, and maybe we could start with your thoughts on that, the inefficiencies when it came to the registration of the different delegates. 3 provinces apparently that still need to go through the processes. What are your initial thoughts from the views that we saw?
Shocking. You know, I was interviewed last night on E News, ENCA. And I had predicted that there'll be a lot of robust, tensions, etc., that, you're going to have a lot of problems at this conference. But I never foreseen that you'd have such dramatic delays in starting This is symptomatic of the organizational malaise with the ANC. It has to be. Can you imagine this happening at the most important, arguably, national conference they've ever had? You know, you would have expected, and I mean the South African public and people are just, so upset with what's happening in this country. And yeah, the ruling party has its national conference. I mean, past 11, we hear that
at 8:30.
Yes, 3 regions haven't registered. I mean, can you imagine what time you're going to start? You're looking at 2, 3, 4, or later this afternoon. What impact is that going to have? Let me tell you. You've got journalists out there. They've set the day aside. They're going to be affected by more than anything else and negative repercussions for the ANC's conference itself. It will do 2 things. It's going to frustrate the delegates who were there early, registered, and now they have to wait. It will fuel further the tensions when the conference finally gets underway. But more importantly, it's going to negatively affect the progress of the conference, because now, to catch up with the time lost, they're going to have to rush through some items on the agenda. I mean, it's just really shocking and disheartening. But really, I think in the final analysis, symptomatic of the organizational malaise in the ANC,
Something else that's concerning, and this is something that unfolded in the middle of the night, was the private prosecution letter sent through to President Ramaphosa by former President Zuma, saying that he is involved after the fact in issues involving Advocate Billy Downer. That putting a real spanner in the works, and now everybody's wondering, will the current president have to step aside as per the rules for the conference, or do you think it'll be business as usual for him today and for the rest of the weekend?
Well, it will be business as usual, because the ANC step-aside rule, there's continuous confusion about it. I don't understand. I haven't read that too much, that latest news, but I don't understand that. You see, when charges are laid, they must be preceded by investigations that justifies charges being laid. In this particular case, I don't know if we can accept that justifiable charges have been laid against Ramaphosa, and therefore he must step aside.
Yes.
I don't think that will occur in this instance, unless, lawyers can. I don't have the full story of what happened, but unless they can explain, I don't think on the surface that Ramaphosa would be required to step aside immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, that means he would not be able to attend this very conference that has been delayed.
Or give us the political report that everybody is waiting to hear from him.
Well,
he has indicated previously that this conference is a watershed moment for the ANC, and really what comes out of there is really going to determine where they are in the 2024 elections.
Yes.
Your thoughts on those insights, and really what we can anticipate to hear come out of the president in this all-important political report?
Well, I think what I've seen already, a statement has been made, basically dismissing this that's happened now this morning regarding the Downer matter. And I don't think him and his inner circles would take that matter very seriously and allow it to impact negatively on the conference and the speech that he has to deliver.
Yeah, and that is an important speech, and I'm just thinking he's going to be addressing a number of political matters that have been within the party over the last few years or so leading up to the conference. What do you think are some of the biggest matters he should be focusing on in the speech that he'll be delivering?
Well, it's probably the matters that he will focus least on. Really, what happened in Parliament last week, you know, I think, I'm sure has his own signature behind it. I think it's a key matter that he has to address. You can see Dlamini Zuma voted against for the adoption of the report, and it's created other MPs too. It's created a big problem in the NEC itself, in the ANC as a whole. Ramaphosa has to address, and I know that he would like to avoid going there to Pala and what happened in Parliament last week. It is a key aspect of his speech, and I'm only hoping that he will address it, and likely he won't. You see, this is the problem, and until he at least has to respond in some way, I don't think the bully downer matter is as important in the speech he delivers than saying something about what happened in Parliament last week and the warning from Gwerimantash. I mean, you know, such a dictatorial warning to people to toe the line. And you have to hear what Dlamini Zuma said on TV, SABC. She said, no, she never betrayed the ANC. She said that she's a member of Parliament, of the South African Parliament. She put the question of constitutional democracy and the defense of that ahead of the fact that she's a member of the ANC. This is the way she explained that. It sounded compelling and convincing to me, but he has to address the question of what has happened in Parliament last week.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk, and you would have heard our reporters covering out throughout the morning, that Zweli Mkhize increasingly getting the support that he may need to supersede President Cyril Ramaphosa after the next few days. Just based on your engagements and what's coming out constantly, what are your thoughts in terms of the mix of the top six, and if anything would dramatically change from what's been put forward in terms of official nominations?
No, I'm afraid to say I don't think Mkhize stands a chance. You have to take the nominations process into account and the figures there. Quite clearly, I mean, Ramaphosa's got 2,000 and something, and Mkhize 900 and something. I don't think that you're going to have a fundamental change in the conference itself. And I don't foresee Zweli Mkhize at all being a formidable competitor to Ramaphosa, and certainly securing the presidency at this conference.
How does the ANC, Mr. Harvey, after this conference, deal with issues around the distinction between party and state? That's been a huge talking point for the ANC, where there hasn't been a clear definition in terms of running the country and dealing with issues of the organization. And that, in a large sense, has led to the economic disarray that we face as a country at the moment. How does the new leadership deal with that, but also just the discipline amongst the members and unifying what has become such a divisive movement?
No. It's a very important question and very difficult to answer, because I think the ANC enters this conference more divided than ever before. And what has happened in Parliament, clearly your question is important. It raises afresh the importance of discussing the distinction between the party and the state.
Yes. And
you'll see Dlamini Zuma's explanation. She was saying basically that she did not think that the ANCs should take precedence in that matter in Parliament, that she was first and foremost an MP of the Parliament of South Africa. It was interesting how she addressed that question. I liked it. But quite clearly, I can tell you now, the divisions between the ANC party and the state is going to grow worse, like the factionalist divisions in the ANC. I believe out of this conference, you're not going to have things being better between the factions. I think you're going to have a worsening of relations between the factions when this conference is finished.
So then what does it mean for the ANC in 2024?
Well, 2024, I've answered this question many times. I'm just about certain, and what has happened now and what's happened in Parliament last week, I think the ANC is certainly going to drop below 50% in the 2024 elections. But I've said it numerous times, and there's more. What has happened today only re-emphasizes that prediction, really. It's a very sad reflection. I mean, the ruling party already in a crisis. Look what has happened on the first day of this conference. And, I'm absolutely, without any doubt, predicting that the ANC is going to, for the first time, you're going to have a national coalition government of the ANC, the DA, and EFF. They are bound to. And what they don't realize by doing what they did in Parliament and now what's happening today, they are digging themselves into a bigger hole all the time. So the whole notion of renewal, you have to ask yourself, what does it really mean? Because every time there's fresh contradiction of even an elementary definition of what a renewal ought to be.
Very interesting insights, and I do understand that you'll be joining us throughout the duration of the conference, sharing your insights, and we'll continue that discussion as those developments happen. That is political analyst Ebrahim Harvey joining us to unpack what we're seeing in terms of the non-starting of the conference, which was supposed to start at 8:30. You saw earlier on with Slindelo Masikane, thousands of delegates still waiting to get registered so that they could make their way to Nasrec.